Okay, for our next tab, we have finding an angle using trig. So we're still going to use trig. We're going to still follow the steps that we did when we're circling the angle, identifying the trig ratio. But you got to understand that in order to find an angle, we have to have at least two sides given. Okay, and usually when I use the inverse, okay, when I'm using the inverse, that is helping me get to the measure of that angle. And the missing angle, there would be no, I guess, acute angle degrees in the interior. X would be in the inside of the triangle as opposed to before on the outside. So go through the same steps. We're going to circle the X, that's our angle. We're going to label the parts in relationship to that. So that would be, 4 would be the opposite, 5 is our hypotenuse. And then we're going to go into writing the trig ratio, or the trig function that relates to opposite and hypotenuse, and that would be sine. So what I would write is sine of x equals 4/5. Okay? So to solve for x, to get that value of x, we're not dividing, we're not taking the reciprocal, we're taking the inverse. Okay? We're taking the inverse because we're basically saying the sine of some degree, angle degree, equals the ratio of 4/5. Well, to find the measure of that angle degree, we're going to now write x equals the sine inverse of 4/5. And so we have to have a calculator to do that. And so we are now going to go into our calculator, and we're going to hit our trig button, but instead of sine, we're now going to hit the one below it, which is the sine inverse, and we're just going to put 4 divided by 5, our ratio, hit enter, and we're going to always round to the nearest whole number, whole degree. Nearest degree is nearest whole number. So to get our answer here, x would be approximately 53 degrees. Okay, approximately 50 degrees. So the same thing happens on example 2. X is our angle, we circle that. We label the parts in relationship to the angle. 6 is adjacent to the angle. 9 is still our hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. What trig function is dealing with adjacent and hypotenuse? Correct, that's cosine. So we're going to now write the cosine of x equals 6/9. Now, we are going to ask, or you're going to need to show the correct trig ratio, or at least the correct inverse trig ratio to get partial credit. So, yes, points here. And then x equals cosine inverse of 6/9 as well, points. So the solution, I got to go to our calculator, and I've already done this one, so x here is approximately 48 degrees. Okay, x is approximately 48 degrees. So what I would like for you to do is, for the next set of examples or practice problems, and I'll make this a little bit bigger, try to see if you can work out and set up the problem. Go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to pause it as well, and then come back to it and check to see if you set up the problems correctly to get the correct answer for the angle measurement. Okay, so I have this set up for number 8 practice problem. So hopefully you picked the correct trig ratio, which is the trig function, sorry. The ratio opposite of hypotenuse would be sine. So you have sine of x equals 12.5/15. And when you put this in the calculator, because you got to take the inverse to find the angle measurement, x is approximately 56 degrees. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and walk through number 9. Make sure you have the same setup. Start off with circling our angle. 16 is adjacent. 20 is our hypotenuse. What trig function is dealing with adjacent and a hypotenuse? That would be cosine. So we have the cosine of x equals 16/20. So x is equal to the cosine inverse, the inverse cosine, either way, of 16 divided by 20. So x here was approximately 37 degrees. Okay, 37 degrees. All right, so that is your tab for finding the angle using trig. Just fast forward to the next video so you can see the video for our last tab, which is the angle of elevation and depression. All right, thanks, guys.